Hello and welcome to Monkey Knife Fight Live, folks. I'm your host, Connor Rowntree, and today we are joined by Kenny Ducey, a pro in the DFS industry. Kenny, how long have you been working in the daily fantasy sports industry?
Well, daily fantasy sports and betting, gaming in general, I've been really back to my Sports Illustrated days. So I would say probably 5 years ago, I've been playing DFS since I was in college. So that would be, 2012, 2013. So what is that, 9 years? Yeah, that was a really long time ago. So I've been definitely enjoying all sorts of gaming for a long time, but DFS is the first way I got into things. So it's always a pleasure to talk about it. Yeah.
Minor technical difficulties. It's just going to be
Kenny.
He's back. Connor, are you there?
Oh.
Are you freeze for a sec?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I froze right before the question, but I'm here.
All right, Kenny answered that wonderfully, so you can move on to the next question.
You don't know what I said, but really, Perfect. When we're talking about live television, you don't actually listen to what the interviewee says. You just
perfect. What's your the more fun question now? What's your worst pick of all time?
I've made some pretty bad tennis picks, but I don't think that there's really like a worst pick. I would just say, anytime I've taken a team like minus 250, thinking that it was like a really big lock and then not doing. I also probably think that this finals was one of my worst betting moments because I think I flip-flopped on the winner like so often. I think I said I said before the series, take the Bucks. Then I said after game one, I said still take the Bucks. And then I managed to completely just say the Bucks are terrible. I hate the Bucks, take the Suns. That was not one of my finest moments. I definitely had no idea what the hell was going on in the finals. It came after a really good postseason too. But I think that everyone would probably agree that it was pretty wild.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you. I thought I had the Bucks coming in, and then I was hosting Monkey Knife Fight.
Well, we'll hold over for a second. We throw up the starting soon banner and bring the mics down until
good pickups for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I am looking forward to watching the New York Yankees now, and that's not something I've been able to say in quite some time. I think that there was an undeniable sense of like, this is a fun team to watch. Probably, 2016, 2017, like when Aaron Judge first came up and Gary Sanchez was hitting home runs. Everybody loved watching this team, and I think that they needed a refresh. They needed to hit the refresh button, bring some new faces in. They also are really reliant on the home run, which is no secret. They generally speaking lead the league in home runs year after year. That hasn't been the case this year, though. They've actually done a really good job of getting walks, getting runners on base via the walk. They've done a great job of not striking out. They've managed to get runners on base or runners in score position and get into good situational plate appearances, but they've hit the double plays and they haven't hit home runs. Their home run hitters, Gio Urshela, DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres have not managed to, she really knows what it's all about. They haven't managed to hit home runs the way that they need to. And that is a big problem. So bringing in a guy that just hits home runs in Joey Gallo and bringing in a great clutch situational hitter like Anthony Rizzo and a guy that also could be able to hit for some power to the short porch in right field, I think are two very good moves. I don't think the Yankees are done quite yet, but they clearly, had the room here. Luke Voit was a guy they kind of got almost for free. Giovanni Gallegos has turned into a pretty good pitcher, but that was a pretty good swap for them. He has really disappointed this year. I know he was injured, but also when he came back, he just, wasn't that good. Gleyber Torres has taken a big step back. They could still put him at second, but I don't think they can really rely on him with his bat at shortstop. So they had some reconfiguring to do. And, oh, by the way, had a wide open spot in the outfield now that Clint Frazier not only stunk, but now he's got some concussion issues. So there's a whole bunch going on. So they had two holes to fill. They filled them. They could still fit Trevor Story if they wanted to. And the best part about all these moves, clearly they're good because I'm still talking about them, is the fact that both guys are going to have their salaries paid by their old team. So the Yankees don't even add any to their payroll. They're still under the luxury tax threshold as they'd like to be. And I think if they move Luke Voit, they could add another big salary, a big salary guy and figure it out.
Well, the rest of the AL East is trying to keep up with the Yankees and all the moves that they're making. Obviously, the Blue Jays, we talked about it before we came on there. They have absolutely horrendous pitching and need a whole lot of help. I'm from Toronto. I'm a diehard Blue Jays fan. So trust me, I've been watching it, and it's been hard to watch. But Brad Hand coming in, they're going to need a lot more help, in my opinion, both on the starting side of things and in the bullpen. And then obviously, the Bo Sox yesterday went out and made a little splash of their own with getting Schwarber. How do you think the Blue Jays and Red Sox are going to have to keep pace with the Yankees and all the moves that they're making on deadline?
I mean, I think it's really about the Yankees keeping pace with these other teams, because it is clear that they're not, one of the two best teams in the division. I think that the Blue Jays are in sort of the same boat with the Yankees, where they have to keep pace with the Rays and the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox wanted Anthony Rizzo. It's a guy that came through the organization, and clearly it was a heartbreaker not to get him. Now, is Kyle Schwarber better? Well, I don't know if he is. I mean, I think that he's a better power hitter, but that is not maybe what the Red Sox need right now. I think that they have, Hunter Renfroe to strike out a million times and hit a million home runs. I think that Rizzo would have been a better fit for them. I think that it would have been a natural marriage. I think that it would have been a fun story. But Kyle Schwarber is a pretty good consolation prize. I mean, the guy hit 12 homers in a 10-game span earlier this year. Absolutely outrageous. He is hurt right now, but when he comes back, I do think that it'll be a trade that makes an impact. When you look at the way Jarren Duran has played, he's a prospect that never really had a great hit tool. I think that he'll be relieved to see Kyle Schwarber come to town. He'll fill his void, or he'll fill the hole that really he's left in left field or center field, and then Verdugo will move over. But I think that that's a team that just got a lot better. And with the Blue Jays, they have a lot of talent, but it's sort of like the Yankees. They just haven't really, had the results. I don't know if they really need to do that much tinkering to their roster. They just need guys like Kevin Biggio to wake back up. And yeah, you're right about the pitching. I mean, it's clearly a problem. And you look at some of the names they've let go of in years past, and maybe some of the guys they believed in. It's brutal, man. I do agree with you. You said before the show about Ryu and
Robbie Ray, baby.
Robbie Ray, there you go.
If they're on the bump, they're getting a win.
Right. They've been the only guys.
Hits. They get hits, right? I mean, an interesting statistic going into yesterday, and something that we touched on yesterday's show, was the fact that the Yankees were, I believe, 8 runs over the plus minus in runs scored, and the Blue Jays were above 80 going into yesterday. But the Yankees still have 5, 6, 7 more wins than the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays cannot pitch. And what they do is they go out and beat the brakes off teams like the Red Sox 13-1 when Ryu and or Robbie Ray are on the mound. So trust me, it's obviously, you can hear the passion in my voice. It's frustrating, but I think obviously, I think there are still more moves to be made. I think Ross Atkins from Toronto, and being around the market and just keeping a close ear on things, it sounds like there's going to be more bullpen moves made and possibly a starter added. As you said, the bats are pretty solid, especially when those guys are waking up and they're rolling. But moving out to the West Coast now, the Dodgers, they're keeping pace. Trey Turner, Max Scherzer, all intents and purposes, just kind of stole the Nationals roster and their best players. Kenny, how do you see the Dodgers and making this playoff push into the 2021 postseason?
I mean, look, I'll be completely honest. I was so out on the Los Angeles Dodgers 2 days ago. I think I did an interview and I talked about futures, and I was like, look, I mean, you want to target the NL, because the Dodgers are not winning the World Series. When you take a look at the struggles that they've had at the plate, they returned Cody Bellinger and he didn't really work out. They lost Corey Seager. Mookie Betts is injured, and he really just hadn't been good this year. I mean, we just talk about inexplicable slumps from really good hitters. AJ Pollock carried them for a while. So it is really difficult to consider, it's difficult for the Dodgers. It was difficult for the Dodgers anyway to see that. And it was difficult to consider them a title contender when you look at all their key players just refusing to play well. And I think that in general, this is a team that was able to get a ton better at the trade deadline. Now they can plug Trey Turner in. They could have him forever. They don't even need Corey Seager to come back. But once he comes back, they'll move. I think they were talking about moving Justin Turner over to second base, and Corey Seager and Trey Turner will play short and third. And when you look at the way that they've been able to construct this roster now, not only are they set for this year, but they're probably set for the next few years as well, with Trey Turner probably retiring a Dodger. And you also look at Max Scherzer helping them this year. Scherzer, Buehler, and Clayton Kershaw are going to be the best rotation by a long, long mile in the postseason. I really do think that it's going to be kind of no contest. I mean, in terms of the pitching rotation, it's a 3-man rotation in October. And what they gave up, Keibert Ruiz, he'll probably end up stinking. And Josiah Gray, I don't know. I mean, he could be all right. But I think that the Dodgers, they have such a deep farm system. They didn't really need these guys. And, you also didn't really see like a ton of amazing pitching from Josiah Gray in his first few starts. I know that I'm not calling these guys bust, but I'm saying like you can take risks on this because prospects don't always pan out. Sometimes they flop, and to make a really good push at another World Series for a second consecutive year was definitely the right move. And they needed to do this because as we were talking about the AL East, I mean, you look at the way that the Giants have played this year, it's been outstanding.
Yeah, the Giants, well, so many teams on the West Coast too. The Padres have played some great baseball as well. And that's with a Blake Snell playing absolutely horrendous this season. If he figures it out and wakes up heading into the postseason, they got a pretty good rotation there too. But let's shift over and look at some home runs, baby. It's the home run blast on Monkey Knife Fight. It's Friday. That means, folks, you're sitting at home. All you need to do is select 3 batters. If all 3 of your batters hit a dinger, you're in to win your share of $5,000 on a minimum $5 entry. Make sure that you put in a minimum of $5, anywhere from 5 all the way up to 1,000. You're in to win your share of the $5,000 on Monkey Knife Fight. Kenny, looking at the early slate for the Monkey Knife Fights home run blast, who do you like?
So I'm going to start with 2 guys that have pretty good batter versus pitcher matchups here, and then also just 2 guys that mash lefties. I really like targeting guys that mash lefties when I like to do these. So Nelson Cruz has 3 homers off Martin Perez in his career. He also is one of the best lefty mashers in the American League or in all of baseball, really. And since coming over to Tampa Bay, it's been more of the same for Nelson Cruz. He's continued to hit the ball very well, hit in the middle of that order. Martin Perez has really been a big disappointment of late. He is allowing a lot of hard contact, and I'm not sure I can trust him in this spot. I think it's going to be another over for people that back the Red Sox. But, bottom 36% of the league in hard hit rate. He's given up a boatload of barrels. And the hard contact, once again, has just continued to rise here. He actually brought it back in, a once touted prospect. The last 2 years, he's had good seasons, and then over 40% of the balls coming off the bat against him have traveled 95 or more miles an hour. He's just given up a lot more home runs, a lot more rockets this year. So I think that's one of my guys. Do you want me to just go into all 3 of them, or are you going to break it up here?
Go. Yeah. Just name all 3 of them. And then
all right,
I'm like, who knows?
Well, now I definitely have to. So, yeah. I also like Josh Donaldson here, another guy, 276 against lefties. We might even
correlate, count,
Yeah, that was weird. Josh Donaldson has 6 homers and 87 at-bats against lefties this year, hitting 276 with 2 homers in 11 at-bats in his career against Wade LeBlanc, who, if you need a reminder, Wade LeBlanc is not very good. He has a 4.58 ERA, which is an even worse expected ERA according to StatCast. Another guy that has given up a bunch of barrels, 12 barrels already in just 6 starts, and a soft tossing left-hander, throws cutters. Perfect matchup, I think, for Josh Donaldson. Should get something out over the plate, and I think he should be able to deposit it into the left field seats for the Minnesota Twins, who are starting to hit a little bit better as they decide to trade all their guys away. And my third guy is Rowdy Tellez, 4 homers in the last week. He's facing sinker baller Tuki Toussaint. And if you look at weighted runs, he has over 3 this season against sinkers. He's liked hitting the sinker. He hasn't seen a lot of them, but when he has seen them, it's been a very, very, a very nice time for him. So I think he's going to stay hot at the plate. And Toussaint is a guy that has a little bit of the peripherals would indicate he's going to take a little bit of a step back after 2 good starts. And we also have, 3 pretty terrible seasons from him to go off of. So I think that there are some home runs to be had here. For the Milwaukee Brewers, I think Rowdy Tellez, a former Blue Jay, can get it done. And speaking of which, I'm seeing on Twitter that there are reports that the Blue Jays might be in the mix for Jose Barrios. So we were just talking about the Blue Jays not having enough starting pitching. Maybe they'll get one today.
Well, you went with two former Blue Jays there, and why don't I make my first pick with the Blue Jay, and he's taking on a left-hander that isn't doing too hot. Daniel Lynch this season, his ERA is right up around 8. I believe it's 7.88, which it is. It's 7.88 this season. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., second in the league in home runs, taking on, as you said, you like the poor left-handed pitchers. Well, taking on a poor left-handed pitcher, and he got a dinger last night. 9 hits in his last 6 outings. And when he does connect, they usually go pretty far. So I like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Another one that I have to give some credit to, Canada's own Joey Votto. 6 home runs. He's on a 6-game home run streak, pardon me.
Yeah,
with
how can
8
you
home
not
runs.
take Joey Votto?
8 home runs in his last 6 games. Like, that's incredible. I haven't actually looked at the recent streaks, but that has to be up there in the last decade or two, since 2000, of pretty active home run streaks. And then my third and final pick, another guy with 6 home runs in 6 games. I'm taking the hot hand, is Austin Riley. I love it. And then just if folks, another pick
against Corbin Burns.
Yeah, well, I think Corbin Burns is going to get a lot of strikeouts, but if it's hanging up over the plate, look, man, when you're seeing the ball right, you're seeing the ball right. 6 home runs in 6 games. Again, the matchup is tough against Burns. I actually think Burns is going to get a lot of strikeouts. I was looking at that on my Sparry. I was looking at his line on Monkey Knife Fight, and I think that's actually a very attackable line on Monkey Knife Fight for the more. But I do like that. And if you're not sold on Austin Riley, there's also Salvador Perez. He's got home runs in back-to-back games, taking on Ross Stripling today, who's been struggling as of late. So Salvador Perez, if you're not sold on the Austin Riley pick because you're scared of Corbin Burns, as Kenny alluded to.
Speaking
I
of
do love Sal
homers,
Perez, so I like that.
Speaking of homers, consecutive home run games, Joey Votto's tied with a ton of people at 6, including Paul Goldschmidt in 2019, Stanton in 2017, Daniel Murphy in the postseason, Arenado. Here's some fun names. Jason Bay, May 22nd through May 28th of 2006 with the Pirates. Frank Howard, Willie Mays, Roger Maris. Now, it gets a little thinner when you get to 7, where it's just Kevin Mench of the Rangers in 2006, Barry Bonds in 2004, and then 8 straight games is Ken Griffey Jr., Don Mattingly, and Dale Long. And so some elite company could be joined if Joey Votto hits a home run tonight.
It'd be pretty
It's
fun.
possible.
I'd like to see it. Couldn't happen to a better guy, too. I think that he's one of the more underrated
He
players
honestly,
of our generation.
when Americans think of Canadians and just how polite and how nice they are, it's an image of Joey Votto. That guy is a stand-up. I'm so proud that guy's Canadian. It really just adds a little extra umph in my step. But Kenny, we've talked about the home run derby. Let's get into the Cubs versus the Nats. We talked about the Nats a little earlier. They just gave away probably their best starting pitcher. Fair to say. And arguably their best batter. So where do they go from here?
Well, I think that at least as it pertains to tonight's, I think that this is still a team that has a lot of talent. I don't think that this is a team that's really going to see the biggest of steps back without Trey Turner. If you remember, they did play without Trey Turner for a period of time this summer, won some games against San Diego.
Well, he's out with COVID-19 right now, too.
Yeah,
he's been out for the last week.
Playing recently without him, and Kyle Schwarber was out. So at least for the purposes of like looking at how this team's been playing lately, they haven't had Kyle Schwarber. They also have had a Trey Turner for only a handful of those games. So look, here's the thing: you still have Juan Soto, and Jason affectionately compared him to the Will Smith meme here, with just like not seeing any of his friends in the clubhouse. You still have a bunch of, they're never going to trade Ryan Zimmerman, right? He's going to retire in National. So you have him, at least, maybe just coming off the bench. They did lose Starlin Castro, but there's plenty of guys. Josh Harrison has had a great season. I don't know if he's going to get traded today, but I mean, he's a talented hitter, and they've been able to piece together some production from their offense as well, or from their outfield as well. So, and they also have Josh Bell. So, this is a team that was disappointing. They're definitely not going to make the playoffs, but it's still like one of these teams that's probably going to beat some NL East teams and spoil their way to the postseason. I could see that happening.
Now, you just mentioned Josh Bell. His line on Monkey Knife Fight is 1.5 hits and walks, so he needs to get on base twice tonight. Do you see that possibility happening with Trevor Williams on the mound?
I'm gonna take the under here. I wanted to take the over because I think that Josh Bell, like from an emotional standpoint, can maybe have a big game tonight. But he strikes out a lot for my liking. He hasn't walked that much lately, and when you look at Trevor Williams, he hasn't walked too many guys either over his last 15 innings here, spanning 3 starts. He's given up 18 hits, but just 2 walks. So I don't know if there's going to be a ton of people on base here. I think that, there could be a few big blows, but when you're talking about Josh Bell reaching twice, it could be a little bit of a tricky scenario, just given the fact that Williams has been pretty good controlling the ball, not walking guys, and he hasn't given up an influx of hits. I like my chances with the under.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to have to lean towards the less. When I was looking at Josh Bell, something that really stands out for me, when you go something from a confidence standpoint and just from a guy that's played multiple games in a day, when you go 0 in a doubleheader, it just doesn't feel good. He's 5 for his last 24 plate appearances. So he's not really seeing the ball all that well. Getting on base twice, I don't see it happening. So I'm also with you on the less. And for the people chilling at home that follow my Sparry, he is also less than the 1.5 on my Sparry, coming in at 1.4. Trevor Williams, Kenny, how do you see Trevor Williams playing out today?
I don't think he's going to have that good of a start here. I don't think he's going to last very long in this game. I think, again, you'll see some sort of emotional response here from the Washington Nationals. I know that I just mentioned that he has limited hits, but I don't know if he's not the type of guy that generally speaking has been able to rack up strikeouts unless he's gone, 7 or 8 innings. And when you look at the times that he's gone over this number lately, he faced the Diamondbacks and the Pirates twice. And other than that, over the last 2 months, he has not gone over 4.5 strikeouts. He's a guy that pitches to contact. He relies a lot on those soft ground balls. So I think that perhaps he has a decent start through 5 or 6 innings, but doesn't couple it with a lot of strikeouts. Perhaps the Nationals just do a really good job here at the plate. It's also worth noting that the Washington Nationals have an 18.4% strikeout rate over the last 2 weeks with an 80% contact rate. This is not a team that swings and misses a lot. It's a team that will get victimized by its inability to drive the ball. They'll tap out to pitcher. They'll ground out a bunch. I don't think they're going to really be victimized with the strikeout tonight. So I am pretty comfortable in taking the under here.
Yeah, I'm going to have to lean with Kenny again with Trevor Williams on the less. I love that we're agreeing this time. Usually when we do the UFC show, you'll see later, folks, we go back and forth a little bit, but it's pretty straight cut and clear for me. Trevor Williams, 2 out of his last 3 starts, has 3 strikeouts or less. I mean, throwing 3 strikeouts twice across those 15 innings, as Kenny mentioned. I just don't see the ball hitting the catcher's mitt all that much tonight, folks. So head on down. You can see your buy-ins below. Hit submit, and you're in to win. Whatever your buy-in is, whatever you're comfortable with. Kenny, another matchup that we have to take a look at is the Rockies versus the Padres. I think Jon Gray's in for a tough night tonight on the mound. How do you see that one going?
Well, I think that he could go over 5.5 strikeouts as a guy that is a pretty prolific in the strikeout department, Jon Gray, and a guy that's been pitching really, really well lately. It's a meme a little bit that I, and something that I talk about with some of my old coworkers going back to, 5-6 years ago, where Jon Gray is back, Jon Gray's not back, Jon Gray's back. It seems like he alternates between the good and the bad. And what we've seen over the last 4 starts is absolutely the good. 3 ERA in July and 4 starts over spanning 24 innings, 19 hits, only 8 earned runs. The 3 home runs are a little concerning. 2 of them came at Coors against the Dodgers last time out. But he's done a good job of limiting the damage against both of those teams. And he's done a really solid job against the NL West. And he also did just strike out 7 San Diego Padres in a win in San Diego. That he went 6 innings and gave up just 3 hits. So I also mistakenly said that he gave up 2 home runs in Coors. He got 2 home runs at Dodger Stadium, 1 home run in Coors, pitched against the Dodgers back-to-back games. But I digress. I think that this is a good matchup here. The history would tell you that, he is capable of this. I don't think he's going to go for like 9 strikeouts. It's a pretty sharp line, but I think he could get 6. The Padres do make a lot of contact, but there also are some strikeout candidates in there.
Well, for sure. And it's funny that you mentioned the Jon Gray. Is he coming back? Is he going? I think I've had that debate with fantasy baseball for the last 3 seasons. I think I probably added and dropped Jon Gray upwards of 20 times. When he gets the right matchups, he's good. And Kenny clearly likes him today, folks. What do you see on the other side, though? He's pitching to Fernando Tatis Jr. He's been in great form. How do you see him doing today with the walks and hits line?
Yeah, well, look, he's a guy that has 14 strikeouts over his last 10 starts. So look, I think that helps John Gray. But what doesn't help John Gray is the fact that Tatis has 12 hits over that span as well, with 5 walks. The guy's just gotten on base. Complete opposite of the Josh Bell scenario, where I do think, Josh Bell, good hitter versus bad pitcher, has sort of underwhelmed. I think that Tatis is facing a good pitcher here, but I think he can definitely reach twice. I do really like that line. I think that his ability to draw the walks is pretty nice. And also John Gray, his walk rate has been pretty troubling this year. If I pull it up, it is not 22%. That would be a lot. 9.7%. So nearly 10% of all hitters stepping to the plate against John Gray have walked. Doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, Connor. I think that this is an over.
So it's the more and more for the Padres and the Colorado Rockies, folks. Make sure you scroll down there, select your buy-in, and then boom, hit submit, and you're in to win. Kenny, were there any other picks on Cross Monkey Knife Fight that you want to take a look at today?
I don't love a lot of the other games here. I was afraid to take I would honestly take maybe some of these Braves, some of these Brewers against Toussaint. As I mentioned earlier, I think that he's a pitcher with a lot of regression candidacies. I think that he gives up a lot of hard hit balls, 1 of every 2 off the bat. So I'm looking at a lot of the Brewers. I do like Rowdy Tellez and some of his lines, maybe a Willy Adames as well that I'll look at. And Jock Peterson has a home run off of Corbin Burns. So if I had to maybe pivot off of some of my other selections, maybe not take a popular guy like Rowdy Tellez, maybe I'd take Jock Peterson. But Dansby Swanson has 2 home runs against Corbin Burns as well in that game. So I don't know. But I'm probably sticking with fading Toussaint. And I like the bold pick though on your part by fading Corbin Burns. And I do see some of the merit here with some of the BVP and also some of the facts that he just hasn't been the same since the league's crackdown on sticky substances.
I'm sure it's going to randomly catch up in just a second, but as I said before, we can begin to wrap up anyway. So in case, Connor, you back there? We got you?
Yeah, I'm back. And I just wanted to add to Kenny's point. Yeah, he seems like he has been a bit of a different pitcher since what do we call it? The stripping of the umpires with the pitchers, as we've seen some guys go super far. But definitely since the.
Can't even get it.
Go for it.
Well, the one downside to what Connor was saying is that he does only
noted by the league. He's so much.
He has only allowed 1 home run over the last 4 games, over the last 8 games, which is a little troubling for the home run prop. But he has allowed some barrels. It's a risky pick, but it's definitely going to be a little bit contrarian. So,
gotta risk it to get the biscuit. That's what they say. Apparently. Kenny, thank you so much for joining us today on Monkey Knife Fight Live. Folks, I'm Connor Rowntree. Make sure you give Kenny a follow at Kenny Ducey on Twitter. It's some great stuff. And honestly, Kenny, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been fun. We've been going back and forth, had some counterparts, agreed on a lot of stuff. It was an awesome combo. We hope to have you back soon. Kenny, thank you so much. For all the Monkey Knife Fighters at home, remember to hit it hard.